Hey, what is going on, guys? It's Blake here from the Evidentries. Oh, excuse me. It has been a very long while since I've been continuing this series that I started last year. This reading series, I should say. Look familiar? Yeah, that's right. It's been basically a full year since I've last done a reading on this part of the series. We were doing a read through of Shadows Before Dawn. Written by Teal Swan. Yeah, it was really unfortunate I never really got to get back to this because I was really wanting to finish this. I believe I started it in August last year, and my goal originally was to finish it before the end of September, and we were going to move on to the next book in her line of work, which I can't remember. I think that was the completion process. That was kind of the goal, was to move on to her other works. It didn't really have to be in that order, but eventually I wanted to finish this up last year and move on to some of her other stuff. Kind of take this channel into a direction, a different direction, while also including some reading content. That's a different direction I kind of want to take. I don't really want to say a different direction, but that's sort of some additional content I want to start doing on this channel is reading content. So pretty unfortunate that I never got around to finishing this, but it's 2020. I have more time on my hands, I guess you could say, during the week, and I'm going to attempt to get back to actually reading this entire thing and finishing it up. I don't really have a set schedule as of now as to how many parts I want to get out every single week. I believe the last chapter we did was chapter 6. Somebody actually corrected me in the comments that it was chapter 6, not chapter 7. I'm going to make that edit to the video title, actually, because in the title itself it says chapter 7, but there is no chapter 7 in this book. After chapter 6, it actually splits up into, I guess you could say, Toolkit steps. And this is the introduction, is the one that we're currently on right now. So this is what I'll be reading today. This is pretty lengthy, not going to lie. It is almost 6 o'clock in the morning, so I might have to hurry it up a little bit, but we're going to be going through the introduction today, which is using the toolkit to self-love. So yeah, we're going to be reading through this. Again, if you're just now tuning in, and I don't know, if you if you want to read from the, or if you want to catch it from the beginning, all of the previous parts are still on this channel, so you can just go back and watch what you want, and then you'll have some idea as to what exactly I'm reading about, because I'm not going to re-explain it now. So yeah, let's continue now with introduction, which is entitled Using the Toolkit to Self-Love. Got my tea. It's ready for me. Alright, let's jump into this. Cultivating flowers of self-love. Have you ever heard of the saying, if you want to kill a weed, you have to pull it up by the roots? This is exactly what we need to do with self-hate. We need to pull it up by the roots and replace it with self-love. When you replace self-hate with self-love, the weeds of your life will disappear, and they are replaced by flowers. Every single external circumstance of your life improves. Self-love is the highest state of all. If you have it, you have happiness. If you begin to cultivate self-love, everything you have ever wanted for yourself and your life will come to be. So how do you do this? In the field of self-help, there are 1.5 million modalities and techniques that can help you live a better life. There are so many ideas and techniques we can use to improve our life that it can become overwhelming, but in truth, they could all be abandoned for one thing: learning to love yourself. This is why I often say that self-love is the great shortcut. If we learn to love ourselves genuinely, we will embrace the whole universe. There's only ever one single thing that we are working on in this life: self-love. When you say, I love you, to yourself, it is self-love. In this world of apparent duality, you may see a difference between yourself and the world around you, but in reality, this separation doesn't exist. Everything in your life is, in fact, a projection of yourself. Cultivating compassion is cultivating self-love. Helping others is self-love. Forgiving someone else is self-love. You can't hold one tiny shred of resistance toward anything and truly love yourself. But if you're reading this book, it is highly likely that you don't know how to love yourself. Let's be clear then. Virtually all of you reading this have been taught to love yourself virtually all of you reading this have been taught that to love yourself is selfish. You have been taught that people who love themselves don't care about other people. You have been taught that you are imperfect and that the purpose of your life here on the planet Earth is to find out how to be better. And you have been taught that to be loved, you must be good. In fact, you have been led to believe that your only hope of being loved is to reach the standards that people around you consider success. And perhaps most damaging of all, you have been taught that in order to be a good person and to be loved, you must punish yourself when you don't meet those standards. This book is built upon the premise that this simply is not true. One of the biggest collective human disorders is the belief that we are not enough. It is this belief, which we can call a pure lack of self-love, that permeates out to create lack in all other aspects of a person's life. Most people do not truly love themselves. If you are one of these people who believe you are not enough and therefore do not love yourself yet, you are not alone, and this book is for you. So I just want to pause for a second there because I'm noticing some flickering on my other main screen. Hopefully the camera is picking up what it should be picking up. Also, another thing, if you guys hear music in the background, I do have like classical music going. It's not very loud, but hopefully it's not like going or reverberating over my voice or anything. But in case you're wondering what that is, it's just the radio. Okay, so this breaks off into the first section. Where does self-hate come from? To start with, I want to explain how we ended up this way. None of us were loved perfectly as children. That is the task of our lives here. We have come to this earth to learn how to love ourselves. It doesn't take an abusive childhood to develop self-hate. Self-hate is cultured by the very society we live in. It is reinforced even by good parents. The process that teaches us self-hate is called socialization. No matter how healthy your childhood was, chances are that as a child you heard at least some of the following statements, and they were imprinted on you. Shame on you. Look what you did. Stop that. Put that down. No, I can't believe you sometimes. Didn't you learn your lesson? You know better than that. You could probably still hear many negative refrains in your head. Bad girl, bad boy, I told you so because I said so. Who do you think you are? How dare you? Don't talk back to me. You shouldn't feel that way. It serves you right. Don't you ever think about anyone but yourself. The adults in your childhood didn't do this deliberately to hurt you. The adults in your childhood didn't do this to deliberately hurt you. They were simply socializing you the only way they knew how. They raised you the same way that they were raised, and the same way their grandparents were raised, and the same way their great-grandparents were raised. When you were growing up, your parents probably felt like everyone else, powerless to their own lives. They couldn't live with themselves if they thought of themselves as selfish. So they wouldn't admit that the real reasons they were doing these things for you and wanted you to behave in certain ways was really for them, not for you. Parents and adults in our society found a way to preserve their own self-concept, and that was through feeding themselves as well as you with the belief it's for your own good. We are fed this lie from day one. Even those of us who grow up in the most loving households are fed this lie. We make our children sit through hours of lessons in the prison-like environment we call school and tell them it's for their own good. We discipline them in ways that are painful to their minds and bodies and tell them that it's for their own good. Furthermore, we tell our children that their desires are inappropriate and that they need to choose other desires. And we tell them that it's for their own good. But herein lies the problem. As children, we begin to believe that maybe our parents are right. We start to think, maybe it is for my own good. We believe our parents must know more about the world than we do, since, after all, our parents seem to control our very survival. Second section, confusing messages that stay with us for life. In this way, we are influenced into believing that something that causes us pain is for our own good. We begin to believe that pleasure is bad for us and that pain is good for us. When our parents kept saying, "I love you, and I'm doing this for your own good," at the same time they were causing us pain, we started to believe that love is pain. We started to think that we can't trust ourselves. We naturally feel that our internal emotional guidance system is leading us astray. After all, it's telling us we feel joy when we are doing something that mom says is bad for us, and it's telling us we feel pain when we are doing something that mom says is good for us. Is it any wonder, then, that after a while we think something has gone wrong if we are experiencing ease or pleasure? We distrust our desires. We let go of the idea that our own happiness is important. The minute we believe that pain, suffering, and self-hatred makes us good and gets us love, we can't let go of pain, because we actually think that pain serves us. We become dedicated to perpetuating pain and defending it within ourselves. We become convinced that if we let go of pain and go in the direction of pleasure and self-love, we will be a menace to society, bad, forsaken, unlovable. Again, your parents did not deliberately do this to hurt you, but they didn't understand that this kind of treatment would lead you to come to a very sad conclusion. I am not good enough. You concluded that if you are not getting the love you naturally needed from them, it must somehow be your fault. Even though this assumption was incorrect, this assumption was the beginning of the cycle of self-hate in your life. Third section, punishment and reward. Socialization is designed to keep societal order and keep people good. The problem is that society thinks in terms of punishment and reward, and therefore teaches us that in order to be loved and accepted, we have to be good. And it teaches us that in order to be good, we must punish ourselves. We are taught that good people look for the flaws in themselves and others, judge those flaws, and then punish themselves or others for flaws until they change. You can see how this model for socialization works not only in our homes, but also in the education and justice systems. It's kind of difficult for me to turn pages for some reason. At this point, self-hate is such a normal condition in our world that we don't even realize that nearly everyone does it. Self-hate is not just a part of the lives of people who are addicted to drugs, cutting, overeating, starving themselves, prostituting, or committing crimes. Those are just examples of behaviors where self-hate is acting in overt ways instead of covert ways. Self-hate takes many forms, many of them just as harmful but not seen. By the time we are adults, we hold a firm, untouchable belief that we are inherently bad, and that without punishment, the bad in us will triumph over the good in us, and we will be unlovable. Self-hate is an autonomous, endless process of self-conditioning, and is a result of standards that you will never meet. It ensures that as long as you exist, you will always find something to hate about yourself, until you break the cycle. But it's a hard cycle to break, and here's why. We are taught that to love ourselves is selfish and therefore bad. Our only hope of getting love is from other people, and to get it we must meet the standards of what other people consider to be good. We adopt their expectations as our own and punish ourselves if we fall short of them. But we will always fall short of them, because those expectations are not our own real expectations, and they do not mirror our actual desires. Furthermore, the kind of love we get from reaching other people's expectations is not real love, because we had to change ourselves to get it. Society tells us we must be flawed. Then, and once we start to focus on our flaws, all we find are more flaws. We then do the only thing we can think of, which is to try harder, and so the cycle continues. Not surprisingly, then we get more lost, more confused, and our lives get worse, mirrored in the self-hatred of hopelessness. Trying to move forward in our lives when we hate ourselves is like trying to drive in the parking. Sorry, it's like trying to drive with the parking brake on. We are caught between a rock and a hard place. The only way to break free is to recognize the cycle of self-hate that we're caught in. Fourth section: how to use the toolkit to self-love. Once you recognize that you are stuck in an endless cycle and admit to yourself that your life isn't working, you can begin to examine the faulty beliefs about love you are holding on to. When you begin this process, it may feel like you are going down the path to a certain doom. After all, you've been taught that only bad people love themselves. But I urge you to be patient with yourself. The reason you are most likely reading this book is that you have already recognized that you can't keep doing things the way you have been doing them. Excuse me. I applaud you for deciding that it's worth the risk, at least to try something new, on the off chance that it might work. Open your mind and heart and remember that if anything set forth in this book doesn't work for you, you can always go back to doing what you have been doing. Now, if you are willing, I ask you to come along with me on a self-healing journey, and I've constructed this section like a toolkit to help you. Each chapter will provide you with a different tool or technique, a new way to view things, which you can use to teach yourself self-love. Don't expect to apply every suggestion and institute every change that I am suggesting at once, or you will soon become overwhelmed and give up. Instead, choose only one or two things, techniques, tools, or ideas. This is for you, the listeners, to work with at a time. As you try even small steps, you will gain confidence in yourself and the process. You may find that after you read through the whole book once, you'll want to focus on one specific chapter at a time and integrate the information contained in that chapter into your life. You will intuitively feel drawn toward making the changes that will benefit you most at any given time. Another good way to use this book is to wake up in the morning and allow the universe to decide for you what you need to focus on for the day or the week. To do this, simply hold the book in your hand and allow it to fall open to any page. Allow your eyes to be naturally drawn to a sentence, paragraph, or page that you see. Take what you read as guidance from the universe and reflect on what you have read throughout the day or week. Don't be afraid that you won't know what to do with the information you have learned throughout this book. It is my promise that you will find a way to integrate it into your life. You may reread this book only to find that you have made some changes entirely on your own as a result of other things that you have begun to do. As you can see, there is no right or wrong way to use this information or apply it to your life. The fact that even you picked up this book in the first place guarantees that you are already committed to finding a way to love yourself. Self-love has brought me so many joys and continues to do so, and I have every confidence self-love can do the same for you. Alright, so that is the end of the introduction for using the toolkits to self-love. This is actually part 2 of the book as a whole, so I'm assuming it's going to be split into parts from here on out. So I think I'll end up titling this video Part 2 Introduction, Toolkit, blah blah blah, and then the next one is Tool number 1, 365 Days of Self-Love, so that'll be titled Part 2 to number 1, so, it'll be broken into sectors like that. Wow, that was definitely a lot. That was definitely a lot to take in. There's definitely a lot I agree with in that chapter. I'm not going to spend a whole lot talking about it, really, because it's so late as is already. But I think the main thing that stands out the most to me, because I guess I'll mention something just because it's kind of been what I've been doing for the past entries here. But I think probably the main thing that stood out to me is just how poisoned, I guess you could say, that our society really is when it comes to, I guess you can say, the disease that is self-hate, and the lack of self-love, and just how society as a whole views the concept of self-love as sort of a selfish act. And for me personally, I'm a natural, I guess you could say I'm a natural pessimistic person. I don't even want to say like pessimistic. I kind of want to say I just have, yeah, I guess you could say pessimistic, because if I say what I was going to say, it'd be probably kind of controversial. So I'll just leave it there. I'm a natural pessimist, so it's almost impossible for me to see society sort of bouncing back from the mindset that it has, because it's just like, consider us all in the ocean. It's like the entire ocean is like poisoned, and it's just like, we have to like leap into a completely different fresh body of water. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure, like, I'm pretty sure like this book has helped a lot of people, but maybe I'm thinking too big picture. I think just as a whole, it's just crazy to me, like how poisoned we all are when it comes to these sort of concepts, and how ingrained it is into all of us. Self-hate, that is, that I'm talking about, and just how people view, I know how people even view self-love to be narcissistic, is what I hear pretty often about people who are trying to, let their self-love qualities show. A lot of people see it as very narcissistic, and that's just very unfortunate. It's like there's a difference. But anyway, that's kind of all I really want to say for now, because that was like the main thing that stuck out to me very in the beginning. I think what I'll probably do is I'll probably review what I read by listening back to the video myself. Or, it'd probably be better if I actually just reread it, but I'll probably be lazy and just end up watching this video back myself. And then before I start the next part in the next video, when I have more time, I'll pick out some more things that stood out to me. What I really should be doing, actually, is probably going forward, I'm going to try and grab a highlighter, and I'm going to highlight the things that stick out to me while I'm reading, and then I can go over those things kind of at the end of the video, if that sounds good to you guys. These might be a little bit longer because of that. I kind of would like to keep these like under 20 minutes. This one's almost 25 minutes. But I think that's probably something I can do going forward. I think that would add a little bit more substance to these videos, because I don't just want to read and be like, all right, see you guys later. So yeah, kind of want to share my thoughts as well. So that's going to do it for this one, though. So yeah, we're going to be continuing this book. I am going to try super hard to make sure that the next part for this reading will not be too long from now. Like I said, I'm not really doing a set schedule like I did last year before I stopped. But it would be nice to be finished by the end of November, if that's possible. Obviously, I don't have the time to slowly go through, like, I mean, I guess we do have the time, but, just because I want to finish this and get on to other books at some point, I'm not going to do this super slowly like she kind of recommends. You guys could do that on your own time, or if you want to pace the parts, if you want to pace the entries or the chapters by yourself, when a new chapter is uploaded, you take a week or a month or whatever before listening to that one if you want. It's up to you. But anyway, thanks for listening, guys. Hopefully you got something out of it. I'll be back with the next part, hopefully very soon, within the next couple days or less than a week at the latest. So hopefully it'll be up soon. So thanks for listening, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care.